On this episode, we're going to be talking about marriage and really reinventing your marriage. What does that look like? Reinvention's not cute. Whoever said that is crazy. They're nuts, okay? Because it's chaotic, it's uncomfortable, but it also is kind of liberating, if I'm being honest, which that's what we do here. I'm Christina Rumbly. I'm a serial reinventionist, and I have done everything you can imagine, all the way from being a pop star to becoming a professional songwriter. From that, business entrepreneur, leading 250 employees, then selling my companies to where I am today. This is Reinventing Rumbly, and that's what we do here. But we're inappropriately appropriate, of course. So now it's time to reinvent. So let's get to it. Welcome back to Reinventing Rumbly, inappropriately appropriate. Of course, we're here talking about marriage. And yes, he refuses to do this, but he's going to do it for 1 second. Here. Yeah, I knew he'd bring the dog. I said he would bring the dog. Just one more with the dog. Not your forehead. Nobody wants to see your forehead. Pop your head in. He's so stupid. That's my 25 years right there. Just buttercup. That's what that is. Bastard. He uses the dog as his whoopee. Like, I'll show the dog. I don't need to show myself. Ridiculous. That's Doug. That's my other half. Briefly, you just saw the top of his head. Whatever. So we're wearing a hat today, okay? Because today's the day to get the roots done, just so we're clear. I mean, I may be a little vain, so there's room. But today on Reinventing Rumbly, inappropriately appropriate, of course, we are going to be talking about something that affects me and 40 to 50% of all of us. It's marriage. And I am proud to sit here and say, on this episode, my husband and I just celebrated a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, our 25th wedding anniversary. We've been together for 28 years. We celebrated the big silver one, they call it, 25 years wedding anniversary. Dude, like, wow. That's what I kept saying to myself. I didn't say it like, oh, wow, I can't believe we made it. I always knew or believed and have faith that we would make it. But it doesn't come for free, if that makes any sense. It's not free. People that say, you know, you can say that if you find something that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? Like entrepreneurs say that a lot. If you find something you love to do, it's you're never working a day in your life. I'd say it's different with marriage, because marriage is a daily work. It doesn't mean that you don't feel love and you have all those emotions, but it is a work. You are in a business relationship with this person. You are in a spiritual relationship with this person. You are in a financial relationship with this person. You are in an emotional relationship. You are in every single quotient that makes up you. And now you're sharing it with that other person. And again, like, I don't care who you're sharing with. You can be married or you can just be together with somebody. Guy, girl, I don't care. But it's still about you morphing and molding into this being together, right? You're your own person. You have your own ideas. You've got your own thoughts. And when you blend with someone else, you're merging those. Sometimes they align. Sometimes they don't. And today, on this episode, I just want to walk down a small, quick history to know, how did we meet? Some people ask. You know, it's interesting when you find out what you've been through together, because I think the goal, and I've had people ask me this, like, 25 years, man, that's pretty awesome. How do you do it? So we're just going to dig in a little bit to some life lessons, I guess, with that. I'm definitely not anyone that will sit here and say I'm an expert on it. How could I be? I can only speak to my experience, right? And my love languages and how we operate and function. And I will say it again. It is not easy. I come from a lot of divorce on both sides of my family. My mother's been married 3 times. My father's been married 3 times. My dad left when I was 2. Makes him sound bad, but him and my mom were together and it just wasn't working. My brother's 4.5 years older than me. He got more of the brunt of the divorce because I was just two. Um, and there's a lot to unpack in that. And hopefully I'll have my brother on so we can talk to him about because his experience was different than mine. And he struggled a lot more in his life in certain arenas than I did. But I felt it, and it definitely impacted my life. It impacts me still to this day. Um, you know, my dad told me he wished he had never divorced my mom, not because he doesn't love his wife now. Of course he does. He's been with her over 35 years. My mom's married for over 35 years to her third marriage. It was beautiful in the way it all worked out. I'm grateful to have two step parents that were fantastic. My second step parent, or first, I guess, would be their second marriages. Both of them were horrible, not good at all. Like life-changing, not good. I wish they would never have met those people, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm so grateful for that because my stepfather, Aldo, is a wonderful man. He showed me at a very important age in my life at 12 and a half years old, let's say, I think I was 12 and a half, what a love should look like. And when it's consistent and when they don't leave, because I grew up really believing that once you fall in love with someone, and my mom was codependent. And I get it because she was 18 when she got married to my dad. She was just in love and infatuated. And he was just got home from Vietnam. He was this gorgeous Marine, and then a cop. And she was married to a cop. And my dad was emotionally vacant at the time. And she was trying to get out of a semi-abusive household when she was young. I mean, all those stories that we've heard, we've seen Hallmark movies about every day. But it's real. It's real life. Okay. So I was raised I lived in a hotel growing up for a few years because my first stepfather was a manager of a hotel. I lived in a Holiday Inn. As a young kid, I thought it was awesome. As a grown adult, I go, holy shit, what were they thinking? I was a latchkey kid most of my life. I think when I was 6 years old, I was walking myself to the bus. I mean, I know it sounds bad, but that's just how it was. And I didn't think anything of it. My brother didn't either. My brother bounced from my house to my dad's house, back and forth, because he was difficult to deal with because emotionally he was pretty traumatized by divorce. So with that background to understand, we all come from somewhere. And what's your story, right? And that's part of my story. My husband was his mom raised three boys and he was the youngest, and his dad left when he was like two, and his mother was married I think three times also, funny enough, and when she passed, she died alone. For many years she was alone, and unfortunately a very challenging woman and challenged emotionally. That's another whole episode. We'll get into that. But I will say that what was so important to me growing up, because I love love. I'm a Romeo and Juliet kind of girl. I am a hopeless romantic. Dude. But when I grew up, I didn't see my wedding dress. I didn't picture the wedding. I didn't have those romantic ideas. They just didn't come out of me. I don't remember them. But I know that I always loved having a boyfriend, or, my first true love was when I was very young. Well, young, I was like 17, and just fell in love with a military guy, and he was older than me. Won't talk about that. My mom wants to kill me for that one, but not crazy older, but older enough, where, yeah, probably shouldn't have been dating him, but I did. Anyways, so just going through life, looking through the lens of that, I always had long distance relationships. I was a great girlfriend because I'm loyal. I don't cheat. I was on tour with 𝐬𝐿, okay? And I was engaged to my husband. And I am that girl that you could trust on a bus with Justin Timberlake. So, I mean, I will say that I met Doug happenstance at a bar in LA. That bar no longer exists anymore, unfortunately. It was called Lola's, and it was pretty cool. And I wasn't supposed to be there. I had a migraine. My friend was like, we left a work event, and she was like, hey, and I was a waitress. I was trying to be a star, remember? So we basically went to this bar, and he is shy and he was quiet. And he was with like five other guys, and he was at the bar getting a drink, and we walked past them, and they pulled us aside and said, hey, ladies, real quick. And there's one outspoken guy. He was like, hey, we have a contest going on. Who has a better shirt, me or this guy, right? And we kind of joked with them. We're like, your shirt's the best, blah. And we were laughing. Where are you from? And we started talking all together. And I see Doug at the time. I'm just like, who's that cute guy? He had a little goatee, a little spiky hair. And I saw him and I was like, yeah, this is great and all. And I'm so loud and obnoxious. I don't care. I said what I wanted to say because literally, I think I was 20. How old was I? My gosh. I met him when I was 23, turning 24 years old. I'm 51. Crazy. So anyways, I basically was like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you guys. I want to talk to him. And they were like, oh, our friend Doug. Yeah, he's the quiet one. He comes over. He's shy, but he's so good looking. And I'm like, that's my type. Like, quiet guy, because I'm not. And we just hung out. And him and his friends were talking to us. We played pool later, and his friend was trying to hit on me, which was hilarious because he's like, let's do a contest. Whose massage is better? And I'm like, oh God, what? So his friend gives me this massage on my neck, and I was like, oh yeah, it's great. And then Doug was like, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. And his friend's like, yeah, because you're scared. And I was like, no, try it. Let's see who's better. And as soon as he moved my hair, he gently moved my hair from the side to rub my neck and back, I went, what was that? It caused things to tingle. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like tingle, like, do that again, my friend. He was so cute about it and embarrassed and just like, oh, this guy's stupid. His friend, his friend was funny and outgoing. I've done that. I've done the outgoing guys. Well, I don't mean I've done them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever. I've hung out with, dated the outgoing guy. Never worked out. Why? Against me, we got problems, right? And he was just like a quiet stealth bomber. I was like, you're just like stealth. And we exchanged phone numbers. By the way, this is before cell phones. He gave me his pager number. I gave him my pager. Okay. And then I gave him my home phone because we had phones, real phones, not cell phones. And he called me the next day. And I remember saying to him, like, this is weird. You called me the next day. He was like, well, yeah, because I want to talk to you. He was 29 when I met him. Young buck. Now he's 57. So we started dating. And I thought he was gay because he wasn't sweating me. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to a guy not trying to like get in there. You're trying to like hook up. No, he was more like, I want to see if I like you first. And I'm like, something's wrong with you. Wasn't used to that. I was used to going, like warding him off. No. Like I had all these guys on me. Let's relax. No, there's a couple. But, you're trying to like, oh, isn't that cute? And listen, bottom line is I'm like outwardly this, I was a redhead, I'm loud, and but in the inside, I'm just like putty. I'm like, can we watch a love story and I'll make cookies? Like that's who I am. But the bravado of me was, yeah, swing from the chandeliers. Let's go. We're crazy. Hey. And then when they really get to know me, I'm like, hi, I'm just a little girl. I mean, like, but a lot of women that are my personality are kind of like that, right? We're tough, we're rough, we're rugged, we're hustler. Like you can't mess with me. Got a nice thick armor on me. What? But then there's just a lot of ushy gushy. That's what it is. It's just like moldable, flexible, not so flexible, inflexible sometimes. Let's be honest. I think women think we're moldable and flexible. I can be definitely inflexible about certain things. And so can he. But that's our love story. We met and I wanted to be a star and we started doing music together. He was playing guitar. And what's crazy, what told me that he wasn't gay, which is hilarious, is that I went over to his apartment, right? And he lived in West Hollywood. I was like, gay. It's West Hollywood. You're gay. And then he had a cat named LaRue. I'm like, double gay. And then his apartment was so nice. It was small, but he painted it beautifully. I was like, triple gay. You're gay. And then he's like, maybe we should go on a real date. And I was like, not gay. Wait, what? And then we went to dinner. We went to a place called Houston's. Houston's, I don't remember. It was out in LA. It was at City Center or Century City. And we went to the steak dinner and it was so nice. And then we went to see a movie together. I'll never forget, in the middle of the movie, he reached over and held my hand. And I remember being like, there's those tingles again. And I was like, he's not gay. He actually likes me. And that was the first night we kissed. This is when you know that we're going to be in a relationship of fighting against like who's the stronger one. Because when he went to kiss me, he turned his head in a different way than I do. And I went, and pushed his head the way. That's so bad. He was just like, oh no, you're going to be one of those. And I was like, yeah, I'm one of those. I'm going to direct you on which side to move your head. It's kind of symbolic of our marriage. But he ain't a puss. Just be very clear. He definitely wears the pants in the family. I let him think he does. Don't tell him. Shh. He can't hear me. So we're good. Here we go. But I think it's important to share a love story because I think we don't hear enough about it. I think we hear more about the bad, more about what could be wrong. I mean, statistically talking right now, just so you know, the average marriage lasts 20 years. I thought it was going to say 7. No, it's actually, they almost make it to 20. So we beat the odds, which is very exciting, right? But 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. And we knew that when I was growing up, Generation X, 50% of marriages. So I feel like it might be going down, but I also know people are waiting longer to get married. A lot of people aren't getting married either. They don't believe in the social construct of it. And I'd encourage those people to follow their hearts and whatever that leads them to. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes it's about how do we feel about this person, you know? And for me, how I feel about him is I love him with every ounce of my body. He drives me absolutely insane. I could wring his neck on most days. But let's be very clear. This is not a rom-com, right? Marriage is not a rom-com. It may be in the beginning, a Kate Hudson, like, how to lose a guy in so many days. Like maybe it's that. But what I want to say is the reality is it's not a rom-com. It's a documentary for real. Because it is about the ebb and the flow and the ups and the down and the twists and the turns and the support and the feeling alone, even in a marriage sometimes, not knowing what to say, being at odds, disagreeing about financial stuff, disagreeing about how to discipline, disagreeing about how you handle a diagnosis of autism with your kid. You know, my husband suffers from depression. He has his whole life. My daughter suffers from that too. I don't as much. I've learned that actually I do have that as well because of situations. The only difference between me and them is that I can identify what's causing me to feel that way. They don't typically. Like if Doug's having a moment, I have to say, do you know, was there something that sparked it? Was there some catalyst that threw you into that? And usually he can't identify it. Avery's the same way. So we walk that dance, but I love him enough through, not in spite of, but through our differences, through the things that separate us in different ways. I'm deeper than him. My husband's nickname is the skimmer. You know, when you're at a pond or a lake and someone throws a rock and they can go and skim on top, that's my husband. But usually about difficult topics, things that take cerebral, deeper thought. And it's not because he's not smart. He's very smart. It's not because he can't feel. He does. But what we've learned is he possibly has a 𝐼𝐸𝑚, we'd say. He's been kissed by the 𝐼𝐸𝑚 bug. But it is not part of his makeup to feel something and speak it into words. And we've only learned that through therapy. Raise your hand for therapy. Okay, people? By the way, anyone that has ever said to me, well, therapy doesn't work. And Doug tried to pull that on me a long time ago. Well, I'd go to therapy just for you, he said once. And I went, well, if you're going just for me, then we have a problem. We need to go because we're good. We don't want to go when we're bad. We want to go when we're good. So we show the rapport and the communication styles. So that when it's time to get through something difficult and life altering and problematic and painful, or something that needs to have clarity, you have a good foundation and a basis that you can pull upon. Because I'll tell you what, life is hard enough to have miniature little fractures in them that you don't try to put some Bondo on and heal, because you're going to face that, whether it's through your child situations, financial, which is one of the top divorce reasons. You know that. I mean, finances is one of the top reasons why people get divorced. Either they don't know how to deal with it together, or the financial burden has become so troublesome that it's eked into their marriage. They can't communicate anymore. Obviously there's other things that are very much polarizing. There's domestic abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's all those things. We're not even touching on that kind of stuff, because to me, if that happens, deuces, right? Of course. But that's your choice. And for me, you have to make a conscious decision to show up even when you don't want to show up, and understand that you're not always right. I used to say that Doug, it wasn't joking, because it was usually in the heat of it. I would say, how does it feel in that right tower? Is it a little cold, a little damp, a little windy up in the right tower? And like Dr. Phil, you say, would you rather be right or would you like to be happy? It's a choice. And I used to always say that stuff to him. He'd be like, okay, all right. And I'm like, because he's a right fighter. And I'm a right fighter too, but I tended to be a little bit more able to see my side. And I would say things like, I see what I contributed to this argument or this conversation or to this problem. What did you see? And it'd be like crickets, because his brain is different wiring than mine. I can feel it. I'm an empath. I would feel the pain and I could put words onto it. For him, he can't identify the words that he's feeling. And you have to go back in history, and everything, I think, plays back into nature, nurture. Then we start getting into how were you raised? He was raised to shut up, suck it up, buttercup. His mother was very hands off when it came to emotional quotient. She did not paint the beautiful mom picture. She did not, listen, not to talk ill of someone who's no longer here with us, but there wasn't a lot of I love yous coming out. How do you feel, son? When he came to her with, troubling problems as a youth, it probably didn't get handled in the best manner, because she wasn't equipped. My mom wasn't equipped either. My mom was a big communicator, but she was also volatile too, because she was going through her own stuff. Aldo was the calm in the wind for me. He was the calm in the storm. He showed me what a man should treat a woman like. And it was beautiful to see. And I praise him for that. And I love him for that. We have our differences, of course, but he never raised his voice at me. He has always loved my mother unconditionally, without judgment. I mean, he loves her with every ounce of his being. And I couldn't ask for a better situation. Same with my stepmother to my father. Loves him. And it showed me that it can work. And I believe that it's because of that, and my own personal, the belief system and how I move through life. And I believe in divine intervention. I think God kind of put Doug in my life and said, okay, I'm going to put someone here. You're going to see it. You're going to feel it. You're going to go there. You're going to let yourself be vulnerable, which I have no problem with. He struggles more with that than I do. But sometimes my vulnerability can lead to too emotionally charged. And I can fight. You know what I mean? Like I have words that are daggers. So does he, but my words are a little different. You know what I mean? Because he always says, like, I like to stoke the fire. I like pour gasoline on it. Right? Because let's go. And I don't mean physical, but I mean verbal. Like, let's go. And he's more of I call it, he emotionally vomits and then he runs away. He'll be like, yeah, shut the up. And then he leaves the room. Right. And I'm like, and then I stew and then I sit in it. And that's not ever been healthy. So I think some advice that I give to people that have asked me before, like, well, what's advice you have for people that are in a relationship or newly married? And I'm just like, listen with your full chest. Do you know what I mean? People say it with your full chest, say it with in the back. Gross. Everyone can hear you. Love with your full chest. I always gave people 100% of me, and that always was kind of dangerous. It's hurt me in the past, but it taught me lessons. And I met Doug when I was young, but I had lived a little. I had already experienced love and loss, and I was an old soul at 23, 24 years old. I wasn't like a young soul. So, and Doug's kind of a young soul. If, and if he had been an old soul, he might've been able to communicate a little bit better, but maybe that's why he was brought in my life, is because I was there to help him learn how to love fully with his whole chest. And he taught me to put it all in and not be afraid. And that's the one thing I said to my stepfather when I had met Doug and we were dating. He said, well, how do you know that he's the one? And I said, because for the first time in my life, and I remember this like it was yesterday, first time in my life, I feel that I'm with someone who doesn't say the words, but he acts the words. It's not what he says, it's what he does. Because everyone in my life prior to that, they said the right things. I love you. You're beautiful. La, la, la. You're funny. But then there's Doug, who didn't say, I love you, struggles to this day, 25 years later, 28 years in the mix together, struggles, too vulnerable, scary, but not scary because he knows I'm here, but scary for him. He's gotten better at it, of course, because I have demanded that. You know what I mean? It's part of me. I'm a words of affirmation girl. He's a physical affection, and mine's words of affirmation. So you love how you want to be loved, unfortunately. And we're really supposed to love people how they want to be loved, but we don't, right? Because it's too hard. How can I love him in his love language? I love him in my love language, which is what I'm craving, words of affirmation. What does he suck at? Words of affirmation. So I told him ChatGPT is your friend. So he's learned how to do that. But he used to tell me it would take him hours to write a birthday or anniversary card for me. He hates it. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. 10-year anniversary. We're sitting across from each other, wine glass in hand. And I'm like, to make a toast is like you asking him to stand up and speak in front of 1,000 people. It's equivalent. It might as well be the same thing. He literally starts sweating. He gets pit sweat. He starts going like, I can't. And I'm like, you can't. I said, I'll make it easy for you. This is at our 10-year anniversary. I said, all right, just say 3 things you love about the other person and go. And he couldn't. And I remember that was a pivotal moment in our marriage because I went, you can't say 3 things that you love about me. And the sweat, and I remember looking at him, and at first, my first reaction was of that 2-year-old, 4-year-old little girl who, oh, wow, that's going to make me emotional. It's going to get you. That little girl who was wanting her dad's love. I'll go hunting. I'll go fishing. I'll do anything you want. I'll be the maid this weekend when I come to visit. I'll make sure I'll wash the dog. I'll do all the dishes. I'll get up at 3 a.m. and go hunting. No, I don't want to kill Bambi, but I will. I'll hunt for you, Dad. So, it gets you because I struggled with Doug not being able to give me the juice. I needed it. But when you love someone deeply, you get them. And I know this man, I have no tissues, motherfucker. I know that he loves me just hard, like loves me deep, but is too vulnerable for him to speak on it. He can't get it out of his mouth. When he asked me to marry him, we went to Puerto Vallarta and I had no idea. And we're on the beach. It's dark. I couldn't really even see him that well. And he had brought back then it was a high-8 camera, no phones, right? And he leaned in close to me and I was like, what are you doing? Like, it was weird. Of course I had to ruin it. But like, what are you doing? Why are you touching me? Sounds like a bitch. I swear I'm not. I was just like, why are you like he was like scooting closer and closer and closer. I was like, what are you doing? Then he's trying to reach over me to grab the ring, I guess. He couldn't get the words out. I don't know why I'm crying. I guess because that was so hard for him because it made him so vulnerable. Me, I can say, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, love you, love you. But for him to say, I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you was so hard because he was so afraid of rejection. Because he was a little boy dressed up in his Sunday best, waiting for his dad to pick him up, take him with him. And he never showed. He wouldn't show. So I have this man who's been so just hurt. And then there's me who's been hurt too. I'm just much more in tune with this. And so he asked me to marry him and cried like a baby as he spoke about it. And he just said to me, I just want to spend the rest of my life with you. And it was beautiful. And he asked my dad beforehand for my hand in marriage, which is pretty awesome. And then we eloped as I was on tour with 𝐬𝐮 and I couldn't get married in the pop group. So we eloped in Santa Barbara. And the pastor woman who married us in this park in Santa Barbara, I was wearing a $130 dress from Melrose Avenue and a $30 shoes. Doug rented a tux. I bought this beautiful bouquet of flowers at a flower store in Santa Barbara. And we walked together in the park. She married us. Then she took off her robe thing and then became our photographer. It was great. It was perfect. And it was the best day of my life, you know? And we have been there. We've seen life together. We've had our daughter. We've moved across the country and we didn't know a soul here. We've built businesses together. We went through Avery being diagnosed together. We weren't able to have a second child together, and went through the hardship of that. We have lost a lot of money. We've gained money. We've kind of been there, done that. And now it's interesting because we're in that part of life of just looking at each other. It's quiet in the house. Our daughter's gone. She's in college. And now it's our life revolves around our damn little dog, Tank, and my 2 cats and the life we've built. And we go to therapy because I always want to know that we're good. And I want to know that we're learning how to talk together. And I encourage everybody that's in a relationship, whether you're married or not, whether you plan on getting married or not, I don't care. That's your choice. It's your decision, you know. But I encourage you to meet them where they're at. I always say that, like, I didn't marry my husband and he didn't marry me to be the same for the rest of our lives. I'm sure he wished I'd stayed 23, 24. I'm sure I looked better, and I'm sure he did too. But I married 10 of him, right? I married different versions of him. And those versions change with life experience. I married the man that was and the man that is now today. We are always reinventing, which is so crazy, you know, that from my podcast is about reinventing me, but really marriage is a reinvention all the time. When our daughter left for college, we reinvented who we were as a couple together. And that's where a lot of couples can sometimes go and grow apart and drift apart because they weren't drifting this way. They were doing that. And it's understandable. Can you find each other again? Can you see what got you there to begin with? And I think that's important. And that's a life lesson that I think we're always learning and living through. And sometimes you can't get back together. You can't find each other again. And I guess that's okay too. Your journey is your journey, but don't shy away from digging in and understanding that if you're reinventing, so are they. So how do you reinvent together? So what's your story? Let me know. Write to me at reinventingrumbly@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Give us a like, share the love, spread it to your friends. And don't forget, here at Reinventing Rumbly, we are always reinventing in this crazy road of life. So pull up a chair and let's go down this windy road together.